All right, hello everybody and welcome. Pretty shocking topic that we're going to be discussing today. I don't think this was something that I think anybody, even in their wildest dreams, would have thought that we would be talking about. But here we are. EG have announced just a few short hours ago that Danny will not be participating in the finals weekend. So he won't be playing in semifinals, and permitted that somehow they make it through and make it to finals, he won't be playing there either. Basically stating that Danny needed to take a mental break, basically due to all the pressure he's been under, and that he would return at an undisclosed time. I'm going to start with the take that technically everyone says you should have, which is that obviously I support Danny taking a mental break. Obviously, mental health is one of the biggest things that we struggle with in esports. It's one of the things that gets rid of a lot of players the quickest, and I think it's really important for a young player like him, to make sure that he's looking out after that as early as possible, making sure that he's in good standing, just with himself. That way he can perform to his best ability, and that he feels confident and that he feels comfortable. Obviously, that if that means that he needs to take a break every now and then, I think that's fine. I think everybody supports that, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Especially given everything that we know about, taking mental acumen breaks between, long periods of mental strain and pressure and things like that. So obviously I support him for that. I want him to be a healthy player. I want him to be a happy player. And obviously he needs to, do everything he can to look after his mental health. But that's kind of the end of that particular bit of it for me. Because I think that while the concern about Danny's mental health, and making sure that he's taking care of himself is important, and it's I think part of the main focal point of the whole post, I think it is largely overshadowed by the fact that what he has done in effect is essentially abandon the team. And that is a very harsh take, I know, but that is the reality of what's happened. The fact of the matter is, EG is now in the hardest part of the year for them, and yes, even harder than Spring Split. When they were winning all those best of fives, and they were running through the lower bracket and end up winning the whole championship. Right, that's cool, but they weren't really playing for anything then. They didn't have anything to lose, right? This wasn't supposed to be the roster that was going to win the championship. So, the fact that they did it was great and it was cool, but it wasn't necessarily supposed to happen. And then the fact that it did was fantastical. And, obviously everyone celebrated it. And then they go to MSI and, they have some success there. And then they come back at the regular season of summer. And then that's when the pressure really starts to mount, because they realize that this team is actually good and it can win first place and so on and so forth. So, the pressure has continued to mount, but early in the season, they weren't really playing for anything. Well, now they have something to lose. They have something to lose because they're the reigning champions. So it's a big deal for them to not make it to the finals of the second one. Even if they don't, win in grand finals, it's important for them to at least make it for consistency. Obviously, they're already locked in World, so that's not really a huge part of the argument I'm about to make, but it is an argument. But the other half of this is that, Danny has left his team in a pretty bad spot. And the reason why it's bad is because EG really needs to avoid ending up in play-ins, right? I think that if you're looking at the three remaining teams, if you were to pick the two teams that could probably make it through play-ins without too much trouble and go into group stage just fine, you're probably looking at Cloud9 and 100 Thieves. I don't think anybody was necessarily thinking that Cloud9 was going to be in this position, but now that they are, and they're really strong right now, and they're definitely feeling themselves, then you can imagine Cloud9 having a pretty easy time to play-ins. Obviously that won't be a risk for them now because they make grand finals. Same thing for 100 Thieves. You can see plenty of instances where they can make it through play-ins without too much trouble, make it into group stage, and be fine. But EG is not necessarily that team, even though that they placed first in the regular season. This whole run through playoffs in the summer has been kind of sketchy. They haven't been as consistent. They haven't been as dominant as we thought they would be. They've definitely struggled. So I think that given the look we're seeing right now from EG, I don't think there's a lot of faith that they would make it through play-ins, which is why making it to grand finals was such a big deal for them, and is still such a big deal, because if they get second, they avoid that play-ins problem. They can sit, they can relax a little bit, they can, prep for their opponent. I think, there's some benefit to playing the games and play-in, but I think for EG, it poses more of a risk of potentially entering away some games or getting knocked out. I think a lot of people would much prefer them to just be in the group stage right off the bat, rather than risk this, younger rookie team or a couple of rookies on it, getting knocked out in the play-in stage. But that's obviously all changed now. And it's a big deal because the fight against 100 Thieves for them this weekend was already going to be very difficult. It's 50-50 odds. I had no idea who I was going to pick in this one. But I still think there was a decent chance for either team to win, and I think it was a fairly even matchup. But now that Danny is gone for this finals weekend, barring that he just announces that he's coming back before Saturday, I think it's kind of done and dusted for EG. And the reason for that is because Danny is their star player. It's not like he's a facilitating player that they can more or less replace. He's their player. They win games through him. They put all the resources into him. He is as one of the focal points of this team, and I think it's very important for them to have him active and on that roster. So the fact that he's not, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's potentially an issue. I think they're gonna suffer for it through the next couple of games. Obviously, they're gonna suffer in this semifinals matchup, and if they get lucky and they somehow make it into finals, I think they're really going to have their matchup against them for Cloud9. I think they're going to be up against the wall in that one. But I still don't think that they're going to beat 100 Thieves now, because they really do need Danny to make their team is what it is. He's a superstar of that team. He's got the firepower. He's their guy. And even when he's not necessarily performing, though, like he gets an occasional pop off moment, even if it's in a losing game, and it's a morale boost. So him not being there is going to detract a lot from the team. And I think that this is going to have other unintended consequences too. And I don't really think he thought about this as much as maybe he should have, because one of the things that happened, though I think they're out of the woods now, but something else that's kind of come up with this is right off the bat with him just deciding that he's going to drop out for the weekend is he almost disqualified EG. I don't think that's a risk anymore. I believe that there shouldn't be an issue with them getting Kaori in now to play as a substitute, but it was touch and go there for a minute. I think even to some degree, maybe still a little bit is. For those of you that don't know, you can't just change players whenever you want to if they're not on the main roster. Kaori was not listed as a substitute for the main EG roster. And it takes basically the LCS/Riot, who reserves the right to determine whether or not that's allowable, because they reserve the right to determine whether or not something is an emergency situation. There's a clause within the rules that says in an emergency situation, you can bring in a player that's effectively already part of the organization. You can bring them into play, which Kaori is. But obviously it's in an emergency situation only. Now, obviously the LCS, I think logically is going to say that, yes, this is an emergency situation. I don't think that EG would have made this announcement basically saying that Danny's going to leave without having some degree of certainty that Kaori wouldn't be allowed onto the roster. So I think that's okay. But just right off the bat, he could have disqualified EG from the semifinals. We wouldn't potentially not have had a Saturday matchup if EG didn't have a player that was already on the in our organization that could take that spot. It would have been. I really don't know what they would have done in terms of maybe having a coach or a manager or whatever. I have no idea how that works in that specific situation, because it hasn't happened since really the new institution of the LCS rules. But I mean, it was not a smart move. And then, some of the unintended consequences going forward, the question is going to be, how much faith does EG have in Danny after this? Yes, obviously they love Danny. Obviously, they were, got him on the roster for a reason. But, even when things have not been necessarily going their way throughout this year, Danny has been, at least a contributor to their wins or to their success, and he hasn't ever given up. So to see him kind of give up is concerning. And I think that the team, I think the actual players, and then maybe some of the coaches and maybe even the managers to some degree are gonna have some doubts about his commitment to giving it his all, because the fact of the matter is every other player is under the same amount of pressure he is. They all have the same expectations now that they've proved that they can win, and coming into summer, they have the same onus on them to perform. They've had to do that, and even more so maybe for them, because their job is to protect Danny. So it's kind of an instance where if Danny dies or he has a poor performance, to some degree you point the finger at the other player, say, well, how come you weren't helping him? Obviously that's not the case, but you can make that argument, and that just shows the pressure that people will put on other players on EG. Fact of the matter is, 4 other players who have had the same season he's had, have had to undergo the exact same stuff he has, are not giving up. they're doing their part and they're playing because they know that they need to make this sacrifice and they need to keep producing as much as they can until they actually have a time to take a break in order to get themselves in a position to succeed and be where they need to be. And so Danny leaving at this last hurdle and leaving when they really do need him the most, it's not good. It's not a good look, no matter what the reason is. And I think that, the mental health thing doesn't help that outlook. It's like, well, mental health, well, everybody else is performing. I realize that everybody is a different person. An experience for one person is not going to be the same the next, but man, you got to choose your moments. You've got to find the right time to make an adjustment or to take that break. And it can't be when you hamstring the entire team. I mean, you can't do that. You can't essentially debilitate your entire organization over this. And essentially that's what's going to happen. Because now they have a really, what you might consider an impossible task to beat 100 Thieves this weekend. It was already going to be rough, but now, I really don't see how they win it because Kaori, as I'm doing more research on him, I'm watching some VODs since I've had time to kind of look at this issue. As good as he is, he's not Danny. Danny is an important contributor for this team. He brings a lot to it, and as good as Kaori might do, unless they outright win the whole thing, it's not going to do him any favors, and he's going to be up against it the entire time because, man, that 100 Thieves bot lane is no joke. And I think maybe it's a little bit unfair to, kind of spring him into this situation. Obviously, it's next man up. Obviously, I think he's going to jump at the opportunity and be excited for it, but the pressure's on, man. And I think that Danny has effectively kind of doomed the team this weekend with that decision, unless it gets reversed or whatever happens. And I think it's also concerning because I think to a large degree it was a split second decision. It wasn't a well thought out decision because they only just played on Sunday, right? It's only been 1 day's difference. So they made this announcement today. I think they probably should have waited maybe a little bit longer, maybe encouraged him to really just relax, chill out and think about it. Because a day can make a difference, man. But have a couple good scrims, just go chill out, spend some time with the team, with the family, with friends, and just chill out, relax, try and release some of the pressure, and then come back, feeling a little bit more refreshed before finals. But I guess that he just decided to go ahead and jump to make the decision. Maybe EG's thinking is, hey, we're already qualified for Worlds, so we're fine with going into play-ins. I think that's not a great decision given their track record right now. I think they should be doing everything they can do to get into a position where they are in group stage rather than play-ins. But, maybe their thinking is, hey, we'll be okay. We've proved that we can hang tough and we can, make games scrappy and we can, contend with all the people that we need to get into the group stage. Maybe that's their thinking and maybe they're fine with it. Maybe they're fine just giving Danny, that little bit of extra time. I have no idea what the conversation was like. I'm sure that they've probably discussed all the things that I'm mentioning now and maybe tried to mention this to him, to maybe get him to reconsider. But obviously that decision's been made, so there's nothing that can be done about it now. So I think if you're an EG fan, I think you're just praying that, Kaori comes out and has a really good game, or that, the rest of the team starts to perform. Maybe if Kaori can't be a standout player, maybe, you have Impact Inspired and JoJo really start to carry for you, get some great performances, and hopefully win the series that way and make it to finals. Maybe that's your way through. Obviously, all three of those players have had some great moments this season, so they've shown that they can carry. I mean, hell, Impact ended the last game on Sunday with getting a pentakill. So what a great way to end off kind of the series. But I think that overall it's not a great look for Danny, and I think that the team is going to have some doubts about him even going into Worlds. If they lose this game, against 100 Thieves, even if they're going to get extra time, to go ahead and start their Worlds preparation just a couple days early, I think for them it's still going to be a concern of looking at Danny, and you're going to be looking sideways going, I don't know how committed you are to this now. You left us when we really, really needed you. Or maybe all of the players are 100% behind it. I didn't really hear much in the statement, didn't even see much in the statement about it, about how the players felt about it. Obviously, they're not going to release that kind of information, but I have to think that there are probably several players on the team, at least two or so, that are not happy with him. And that's going to be an issue, I think, going into a Worlds run, when that does happen. So I wish the best for him. I hope that he does, get the most out of this break, comes back stronger, and shows that he, is refreshed and ready to go, and that he's ready to give his most at Worlds. But I think it's massively disappointing. I think it casts a huge shadow over this finals weekend. I think even if it would have been exciting, it was going to be exciting. It was really exciting, and now, even though it is still somewhat exciting, I think there's kind of just this sad, really tinge and just kind of shadow over the whole event, knowing that, Danny, this North American player that everyone has loved rallying behind and has been so fun to support, is not going to be there. And I think that lessens the overall, grandiosity of the event, and how cool it would have been. But I hope EG managed to clutch it out. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that EG is like, yeah, you know what, JoJo, go take your break. We don't even need you, buddy. You go take as long as you need. When you're ready to come back, we've 100% got you. We support you 5,000%. We can win, with you, and we can win without you. So we'll support you no matter what, and we're excited for you to. I hope that that's the mentality there. But man, I've watched enough LCS to know that's normally not how it goes. So, but best of luck to EG this weekend. It's really sad. And I can't wait to see how this weekend's going to unfold, because, man, it's going to be a hell of a weekend. So thank you all for watching. Leave your comment below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers, and thanks for watching.